Hark, hark, hark.
Never sold my soul to the devil, but I can say you his. Welcome to Dante's America, where the demons live. Can you tell me the difference between the snake and the rib? We take the witches to the stake just because of Eve's beard. I got nothing to give, cause there's something to take. I plot my escape while drinking fermented grapes. The undead, the Dracula, the bat with the cape. Can't see the execution, the space where lurky smiles or sobs. Do not bungle the job, you might trouble the mob. They will have you for lunch, anybody gets touched. The prostitutes don't clutch, and the ghosts stay hutch. I move smoothly for the booty, need my gold in a plush. So welcome, hear ye, come one, come all. This the last of days, masquerading deaths at the ball. Watch a dragon so the sky and breathe fire on all. Strive to stay alive because the wolf don't crawl. Yes, the eagle is law, we hunt the feeble and small. I'm not speaking to y'all, this is silent and secrecy. Providing the mystery, right story about victory. My blunt stay hickory, bitch niggas can't get with me. Not only OG, you know that shit ain't on history, nigga, fuck it. I catch a traitor's head in a bucket, I'm never trusted. My sword is never rusted, I'm plagued with the disgusted. Amazed and I love it, guns blazed at the summit. Gargoyle, who won it? Survive fights with nights, so watch your eyes turn bright. Keep your rosary beats for things that bump in the night. Cause even saints face the tank for a piece of the bank. We all moving up ranks with these double-edged shanks. This is pirate and plank with song and strong drink. How long will fate take with bad success and good mistakes? We all gotta wait for the black or pearly gates. I was never early or late, the right don't debate. No, I won't hesitate. Rip his nose off his face, put his head on the plate, then I'll boil it with dates. They'll taste checkmate and then we all say grace. Saga City. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Dark age, last days, keep the black on my tent. Niggas talk about business cause it's rich as they want, but can't keep their eyes open after smoking a blunt. Real ones stay high, we got the heart for the hunt, got the brain for the game. So insane and profane, my lane, it won't change. Give that bitch some bow legs after snorting cocaine. Now she go to the strip club and get dough in both ways. I'm the wizard of the Oz, it's my job to get paid. Use an image of facade, Instagram and a page. Where's a gram for my rage? Rather be standing on stage and have my hands on a gauge. Looking for the long play, smelling piss in hallways. I'll be balling one day, this is just a small phase. If you can't survive the plague, grunt like swine in your grave. Watch the dragon wings spread as I'm leaving my cave. And I won't be coming back till they feel heat from the flame. Mr. Read my story, nigga, remember the name. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Yeah. Pussy niggas think the dark side will leave you depressed. Living in reality will put some hair on your chest. The survival of the fittest, and I wish you your best. I'm just being myself, and niggas think I'm a test. Niggas running in a circle, they be rushing they death. When you find the stairway to heaven, start watching your step, cause you might fall back. And what do you call that? In alleys that's all black. I got a swing and I scratch for small stacks. That's between all the fleas and the rats, pit bulls and the cats, zombies smoking on crack. Have you ever seen a boss hog push a Cadillac? What's the point of this rap shit? I'm not getting no plaques. So when I speak upon wax, I'm releasing the secret that you need to attract. You can bear your own burden, I don't believe in no slack. This the black man's Bible and I'm just preaching the facts. I can at least give you that. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Yeah.
What's good? What's good? What's good with the people out there in the world today? We got another one with the brick altar. I'm going to be interviewed here in a couple of seconds about Kicked Out of Heaven. The brother's been in on all my literature, so he's read volume 1 and volume 2 in its entirety. So we're going to see what type of questions he has for me and for the people. And if you all have any questions in the comments, they will be addressed as well. So to get ready, here goes another ride. Let me go ahead and bring the brother up. But before I do that, let me go ahead and state once again, Kicked Out of Heaven, volume 1, 2, and 3 is being sold for $50 by itself at kickedoutofheaven.com. But with the major sale is the Kicked Out of Heaven, volume 1, 2, and 3, the Black Man's Bible, the Ethereal Law in paperback, and then you get the Real Nigga Etiquette, VooDoo edition, and also the Encyclopedia on the Alchemy of Women, volume 1 and 2 in ebook form, all $400 right now. And let me go ahead and put it up here. Okay, y'all see the website, and I'm about to bring the brother up to the stage so we can go ahead and get this on the roll. All right.
Testing. How you doing? How do I sound?
You sound phenomenal. We're here. Let's get it rolling.
All right, good. First of all, if y'all don't get this series at this beyond reasonably priced, you bugging. I'm sorry, you bugging. This right here, 3-volume set for what Brother Keenan is selling it for is insanity on your part if you do not purchase the material. I don't know what to say. I don't.
Right. It's funny you said that. Let me go ahead and tell the people. Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3 has been evaluated at $3,650 something. Okay, and it sat at that evaluation price for over a year, consistently throughout since I've published it in 2016. It sat at about 300, 400 plus every single day. You know what I'm saying? So somebody's selling it at that price somewhere underneath the sun. But go ahead.
Okay, and I've seen it. First off, before we begin, tell me what inspired the cover?
The picture. I was just looking through pictures. I didn't know what to do with the cover. You're the first one to actually ask that question. I didn't know what to do. I wanted it to be grabbing. I wanted it to pull you in. As you know, with the material that's inside the book, there's a lot of ups and downs with how you feel about existence or the things that were occurring with the people. And I wanted that passion to be inside the picture of whatever I was looking for. And I found that picture, and it spoke everything. It spoke the death. It spoke the life. It spoke the struggle with the baby on the lap. It spoke the passion of the female that's sitting there. That picture is actually in the catacombs in Spain, and then what's really interesting is that the skulls on the background, they count out to 27 skulls. So and yeah, I wanted it. I wanted that to be there. I want one thing about a product. Let's just take it in the space of a product, right? The number one thing you have to be worried about with a product is its packaging. And when you're thinking about a book as a product, you say to yourself, what is the packaging? The packaging is the cover. So, right, you have to do something phenomenal to jump off the shelf and grab the customer. That's what your product needs to do. It doesn't matter what product you put out there in the world, unless you're doing generic shit like white socks and shit like that. When you're doing a unique product or a specialized product is, I think, the right terminology for it. You want it to jump off the shelf, grab the customer, pull the customer in, and say, hey, check me out. And I think that picture did it. It spoke volumes, and I wanted it. I thought it was perfect. So, and then it also was perfect in the space of letting me put the title on there in a unique, way where you could still feel the essence of the cover. You see what I'm saying? Of the picture.
Well, let me tell you, the cover is as beautiful as it is haunting.
Right. I wanted that balance. I wanted that balance there, you know? So that was definitely the point.
Oh, you made it because it has that yin and yang. It is beautiful as it is haunting, and it says so much, even beyond probably what you intended to state, because it's a lot going on here. Yeah.
Right. For those who know art, right. But then, well, I mean, for anybody, regardless if you know art or not, just with the baby on the lap and the skulls behind, and the skulls are in sort of a distance, and the lady's up front, and, you know, she's in the sympathy, empathy mind frame right there. And, you know, it was phenomenal. It was perfect, you know?
Phenomenal. Now, I like in all of your books how you begin, starting with the introduction. Your introductions are so thorough and have so much meat on the bone, the introduction could be discussed in itself.
Okay. I appreciate that.
And I like how you started this in this introduction. You said, many people ask me why I wrote this book. It's simple. Because it needed to be done. Why?
Well, it needed to be done because we don't know who Europeans are. You know, the Native American doesn't. The Hindu Indian doesn't. The African doesn't. The Chinaman doesn't. The Japanese don't. The Islanders don't. The African American or the Moor. We can't really say that for European Moors, you know, which you are a descendant of. You know what I'm saying? But the African American in America, we don't know. Okay, so it's time for us to figure out, you know, what is the culture line or the thinking of the individuals who have the capacity to take over the planet like they did.
And also, you went on further to say, how could the slave masters do what they did to the slaves? History was telling to me that the Indian people were nice, gave the pilgrims corn and ate turkey when the white man arrived. I didn't know anything about 300 million Indians being brought close to extinction. Even when I found that out, I didn't understand how they could do it. All my life, I wondered where white people came from and what was this thing called the Dark Ages, which talks about Greece, Rome, and all their insanity you can find wholesale. Even though publicized information on these same periods is politically correct, it is presented in a format to make themselves not appear immoral. I thought that was heavy that you put that in there, that the information is placed not to appear immoral.
Right.
How heavy your perception was and how much of a deep diver you are regarding this information. But when it comes to the Dark Ages, the medieval times or the Middle Ages, it gets mighty silent. This is the first time the door opened up for me to study these times in all of its facets. It was also given the responsibility to let these souls breathe again. Now, when you speak of let these souls breathe again, what exactly do you mean?
Well, what I mean is when you go deep into when you go into communities of like a Harry Potter community or a Lord of Rings community or even a Game of Thrones community, you'll find arguments of the proper placing of things pertaining to a time period. So when we watch the Lord of Rings or, you know, the Game of Thrones or the Harry Potter, there's no time that is specifically mentioned throughout those films or throughout those, you know, TV shows and whatnot. But they are using real artifacts. They are using similar language structure. They are using the history of folklore when we correlate to a Lord of the Rings or to a Harry Potter, not necessarily the Game of Thrones, but the Game of Thrones and the stuff that you witnessed during the course of that show spans a large time span of events. Okay, so what will happen is when it comes to your DNA or your blood is chronologically correct, but the information that you may see externally may be confused with what's going on. So Game of Thrones, for instance, they'll show you early middle ages attire when it comes to the soldiers, but then they'll put it at 16th century attire when it comes to the kings and queens. And then they'll use 14th century plates and style of eating when they're using 17th century swords or some shit. What they'll do is they'll mix it all up within the time periods and also locations, because what was going on in Germany is not the same of what's going on in Ireland directly. They're all connected on the same, but they have different variations, small adjustments pertaining to the immediate local culture. So they'll put a little Swedish over here, they'll mix a little Scottish over there, then they'll mix a little Italy over there, and your DNA won't be able to read it right. So what happens is that it locks it down. It locks down the old world like on a combination lock type of thing. You see what I'm saying? But because you're not historically literate, you don't really know what you're looking at. And because you don't know what you're looking at, the souls of the yesteryear stay locked up.
Whoa, wait a minute. That's you're saying something real heavy right now. So this is okay. Are you saying this goes beyond dramatic effect and storytelling, but this is more ritualistic?
Ritualistic in the essence that you're viewing it. You see, because this is coming from Hollywood, and Hollywood stands on real history. Hollywood stands on real artifacts. So I could confuse the system. I could put Ogun colors on top of Papa Legba, and you don't know what the fuck you're looking at. And right, you're just looking at whatever I put on this film, right? So you see Papa Legba in Ogun colors, and guess what? You don't have any direct access to Papa Legba. Your body and your mind won't read it as a reality of what is going on here. You see? So it's just like my friend had put on this show. I was over at homie's house last night. He put on the show American Primeval. Okay? A lot of people have been telling me to watch this shit. And American Primeval, just like who's your boy? Your boy fucking Leonardo DiCaprio played in Resident. Okay? Those type of films are directly smack right on top of what happened. There's not too much confusion of the scenery. We're dealing with a specific time period, and that's what they had access. So when you're looking at movies of, like, say, Oregon Trail, which is what is the similar time period of a Resident, and also the show American Primeval, all of that is damn near 98% correct. And the reason being is because they don't have a multitude of different layers that they can confuse into the scene. Therefore, you won't have, access to that dimension. You see, if I confuse what the dimension looks like, your blood won't be able to read it correctly. Your mind won't be able to read it correctly to have access to that point. You see? So, for instance, Cinderella is a composite of 360 stories. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah. The Grimm brothers confused 360 different stories to make one story, because there's a psychological implication within the story. You dig what I'm saying? But then it is the entirety of Europe, because they took different parts from a multitude of different stories that were similar throughout the course of all the different little provinces in Europe.
Wow.
You see, so I could go to Germany and I could go to 20 different little small villages, take their folklore stories, mix them up, make one story out of a multitude of 20 stories, and I can officially call this a German story.
That, you know what? No,
yeah, people don't know how this Hollywood how this shit works. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, it's truly, now we're really talking about spells here.
Right.
I mean,
right.
This is like,
bro, I can show you how it's recently done. You've never seen a Black Panther movie without a white male in it, right?
Right.
Right. But people don't know that there was a White Panther Party.
Oh, no.
There was a White Panther Party. Look it up. Yeah. So you see what I'm showing you? Just like the little scene in Forrest Gump, they had the white boy with the Black Panthers. You see? Right. Remember? And when he was fighting with the old girl and whatnot, they was in the White Panther Party. Right. There's a White Panther Party, bro. People don't know that shit. They put one white boy in the Black Panther mix-up, or just have him in the film playing a specific role that's outside of a police officer. What they're telling you is White Panther Party, but you don't know that because we're not historically literate with the details of what was going on during the 60s and 70s.
Right. Wow.
Right.
That's heavy. And just the whole thing in terms of how you said that they combine all the stories together and you're getting all these stories just lumped into one. That's some serious witchcraft right there, brother.
Yeah. If we're going to go down to the linguistic level and caricature level, yeah, that is how the science works. And that's what you're looking at on, a Game of Thrones specifically, because they play with a lot of different time periods. They play with a lot of different locations to produce Game of Thrones. And that's why it had the power in which it did, because it struck the inquisitive nature of your DNA to be in access of the old world.
So you cannot have access to it ultimately. That's heavy.
Right. You're right. Exactly. Without being historically literate, you don't know what you're looking at when you're watching Game of Thrones. So it strikes your excitement as if there's a doorway to the old world open now for you to gain that intelligence. And then when you sit on your ass and watch it, you're just being entertained. You have no thorough access to the old world.
Wow. That's something I'm gonna have to follow up with you at another date. That's heavy.
Yeah, basically time periods are dimensions, and all of these time periods and dimensions are loaded in the ether. So you have, as long as you have your information correct on the events and chronologically, then you will have that access. And that's why the Kicked Out of Heaven is phenomenal, because every single section starts out as early as possible, usually 1200. I tried to go to 700, but I had to put it at 700 to 1700 for the cover, because that's what the intent was. But when we talk about true documentation, the majority of it doesn't really start till around 1100, 1200.
Right.
And then it skyrockets after the Black Death in the 1300s.
Definitely. Now, you say here that there are several ways that the Caucasians have been neurologically wired to handle a lot of different circumstances relative to extreme survival and imminent death. The main survival tactic is illusion.
Stock market.
What do you mean?
If their survival amongst the illusion on the numbers doesn't work, they jump out the window, right? Imminent death.
Ooh.
You see how light it was? Right there, bro. You see that shit?
Well, weren't we just talking over the weekend about the betting and saying it the bookie?
Right. The same level.
With the fight, the Javante Davis and all that whole mess.
Same thing. If They have an illusion that they're surviving off of, and what the you have to understand when we say surviving off of illusion, they're surviving off the creation part of the illusion, not the reception part.
Okay.
Okay, so once the illusion of the creation part fails, they don't understand any other form of existence, and they'll jump out the window. You know.
You know what that sounds like to me?
Go ahead.
Almost like they, at that point, they're being defeated by their own trigonology.
Correct. And this goes into this goes into the status that when you lose, when you attach yourself to a team, well, let's go back to sports, for example. You attach yourself to a team and the team loses, your brain actually decreases in its production of testosterone. And it also creates a fluid that will start deteriorating your brain. It'll start eating your brain from the inside out. So too many failures in this space will definitely not only make you erectile dysfunction, but will pressurize your whole status into jumping off the cliff, committing the suicide, and that's what we see, for instance, you're trying to create an illusion that you're about to make $1 million, this just one hit, and that illusion collapses on you. Then what do? Imminent death. They'll go home, kill everybody. They'll jump off the building,
Wow. Yeah. Continuing on with this time period, you also mentioned the time period gets skipped right over, referring to the Dark Ages. And that the reason it's called the Dark Ages, in essence, is because this time period is constantly skipped over and not talked about.
Right.
In order, in essence, to keep the time period dark or hidden and not sought after by scholars, the only scholars interested in this time period are those who are white, which it is natural because it's their history, and that it reinforces the negligence of all other races on the planet. Now, I'll let you explain it. Why is a subject like this, and we spoke about this before, and I say the reason why this did not fall into the conscious community subject of exploration is because it's not self-deifying. What do you say to an individual, particularly from the conscious community, or doesn't it even have to be really conscious, to say, brother, but why would this be necessary for us as a people to read when I look at it and this is nothing but white European glorification? How do I benefit from this?
Well, show me what warrior won a war by being self-deified, going off of self-deified information. What soldier won the war or was even able to survive during the course of the battle being fulfilled with nothing but self-deifying information? You've never seen it.
All I know is that usually those who won study their enemy very well.
Right. And where is any doctrine? You have categorized your enemy throughout your information and your dogma and your conscious community. You have categorized and classified and identified who this individual is, but where is your study of them?
Meaning it was necessary to compile this work because this is something by us that's been untapped.
Right. Well, if you really look at it, no race on the planet has ever studied Europeans but Europeans. So you're not going to find a Hindu work written like No Kicked Out of Heaven. You're not going to find a Chinese or a Japanese work like Kicked Out of Heaven. But what do Japanese and the Chinese and the Hindu do? They say, oh, we will attend your schools. We will sit directly up underneath you. But this is the finishing product. You see what I'm saying? You're not looking at the origins, or maybe they were involved in the origins and know that and their information, because we got to understand China and Hindu, they have history that's uninterrupted for over 5,000 something years. So we don't know what's deep in the text of the Veda and all of that. You see what I'm saying? But what we do know is that today we're looking at the end. We're looking at the result side of it. We're not looking at the origin side of it. So,
also Europeans may not know a lot of this information because of this level of immorality. Is something that you also mentioned.
yeah,
it was hidden from them by their parents. The children must be blind from how the grandparents gained their millions. At the same time, the old mentality would make sure the children kept the money and the legacy going.
yeah. Right. So there's no bounce back, because in reality, when it comes to our experiences here in this American system, we weren't taught any of this. Just like that movie Killers of the Flower Moon. We didn't know anything about these white families coming over here, destroying whole neighborhoods, a whole Indian cities to get an oil situation going in that town. You know what I'm saying? Which that was one of those situations. There's a lot of details to what had happened in history that none of us know about. You know what I'm saying? And what I'm really alluding to when I stated that was when you look at the documents of when Europeans started coming to America, and when you listen to the interviews of a lot of white people will tell you, hey, I was raised French, but come to find out I'm German. I was raised Italian, but come to find out I'm Irish, and that's what happened. A lot of the Europeans came over here and started adapting different European cultures to confuse the line. And that's sort of like the alchemy and the metaphysics to create the terminology of white. So everybody just adjusted them into the space of white. You see what I'm saying? So they confused all of their different culture lines. They confused all their specific saints. They confused all of their things, and they didn't even let their own children know what the essence or what their ethnicity really was directly. You see what I'm saying? But if you were to and that's why I put that in the intro. It's like, yo, there's no such thing as white. There's no such thing as an Australian. In essence, you motherfuckers are Italian, German, Scottish, French, Swedish, Ukrainian, so on and so forth, Slavic or whatever, and we as Native American Indians or black people don't identify them in that space. We need to be more educated so we can understand what the cultural lines and divisions are, so we can thoroughly pick out what we're looking at when it comes to the Republican and the Democrat battle. Okay, because it's obviously a war going on up there. We don't know how far back that war may stem. It may go all the way back to the Knights of Templar situation, but we don't even know what the fuck we're looking at because we're not updated. We're not educated on how they operate, nor are African Americans coming to the reality that you are a 200-year culture at max. When it comes to African Americans, when it comes to Europeans, bro, they're still operating off of rules and dynamics that go back to ancient Greece. So it's safe to say that their culture is not interrupted for the span of 3,000 years. This is the same thing with the Chinese, the 5,000 years, so on and so forth. And we're over here 150, 200 years old, crying like babies and trying to stick out our chests at individuals who've got a very long line and solidified culture system. You see?
Now, that's interesting that you say that, because within the conscious community circles, we're constantly being taught that, as black people, we come from this lineage. And of course, it starts everything with ancient Kemet, which is Egypt, on down. And that we are the creators of everything. Okay.
Except the bank account.
Oh, well, oh.
Keep going.
What about these forms of currencies that existed when Egypt was in its full power? Okay, which is something that someone may challenge you on and say, no, brother, but ancient Egypt, that you're saying we didn't have a currency system then because we're the creators of everything. What's so special about the European and what they have established, and if they even established it? Didn't we lay down the blueprint for all of this?
Even if we did, the first thing, if you don't speak the language, you are not of the culture. So you can play with your brain all day and say, oh, you're Igbo or you're Yoruba or you're Kemetan or whatever the case. The law is that if you do not speak the language, you are not of that culture. Okay. Secondly, why isn't anybody inquisitive on how they were able to take over the globe? It's really that simple. Yeah. That's the big question. How were you capable of taking over the globe? And you can't tell me that's not the status that we're in right now. I mean, they have military bases on every single continent on this planet. You know, they are the inventor of guns, and well, I can't really say that. Moors may be the inventor of guns and gunpowder and so on and so forth, but they have definitely maximized, manufactured, and distributed said weapon across the planet. They got everybody walking around with walkie-talkies. You're all using cars and vehicles and all of this other stuff. So how were they able to do that? Why isn't anybody asking that question? You know?
Which is something that definitely requires study. It should spark interest.
It requires study. It requires debate. It requires conclusion. It requires unification. It requires the assistance and longevity of your woman being in place with all of this. Yeah, it requires all of that. It requires, telepathy. It requires psychic capabilities. It requires a lot of different things in order for you to be able to take over the whole planet. We're talking about the whole planet, bro. Yeah, we're talking about there are phenotypes of man that no longer exist.
Yeah, because even speaking about it, you know, a lot of us, those who are studied, who know, and those who may not be studied, they can figure it out that definitely there was a colonization, conquering of the entire planet, hands down.
Hands down. They were over here kicking ass. They was digging up for gold during the Wild Wild West, and at the same time, they was over there doing the Indian Company over there in the East Indian Company. At the same time, it was the Opium Wars going on. At the same time, they was burning up their women in Europe. So what are we talking about here, bro? Like, you know, they've done some major stamping cleanup, and they were all in unison on what stages and levels they need to be at the same time throughout the whole entire planet. We're talking about 5,000, 10,000 miles in distance from each other. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. And they cleaned up the Australian. Go ahead.
No, but you also said it requires also the woman to be on board. And you're also saying, in order for them to accomplish and to get this off, it required their woman being in unison with them?
Correct. Most definitely. When you look at it, when you stand back and look at the whole picture, Europeans are the only people that have educated their woman. No other culture of people on the planet have educated their woman.
And when you say educated, meaning in what way? Because you'll get kickback from these modernized feminist groups and say, no, we were never educated. They never educated.
Oh, no. That white woman was very well educated. She wrote, didn't Mary Shelley write the Frankenstein?
Frankenstein?
Yeah, come on now. And then we got, you know, The Interview with the Vampire. Okay, that was written by a woman. Okay, you know, as many Marys that are inside, as many Virgin Martyrs that are inside the saints in Catholicism. You dig what I'm saying? They had Joan of Arc, who waged war. They had Elizabeth Bathory, who was a queen that was running major shit and draining the blood of virgins so she could make sure that she never gained any wrinkles and didn't age. Okay, like what are we talking about? They're all inside the drawings. You're not going to find too many drawings of what was going on during the medieval times without the women being inside those drawings. They were a part of it. They were a part of the progress. Yeah, there you go. The Jack and Jill torture device right there. The female was their female was always in play. But we could see this all the way down to Greece and Rome. We could see it where, the Nero was boning on his mom. I think it was Caligula as well. Tiberius. There's many Roman emperors that had liaisons with their mothers, and their mothers were basically ruling the empire through her son. You see what I'm saying? And that's all throughout European history. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, they educated their woman. They let their woman rule and roar. No other culture does. You're not going to find that in China. You're not going to find that in India. You're not going to find that in Africa. Nobody did that, and they did that, and they made sure that their woman was on the same playing field, and if they weren't, they put her to the stake for 400 years, let her burn in the market.
That was going to be my next question. So the reason why other women are not is because the lack in punishment, meaning there are no repercussions sought. Is it that non-European women do not hold the particular, say, ruling class mentality, or they're not placed under the aspect of severe punishment? How does that? What do you?
Well, the whole thing about it is that women across the board, they deal with their comfort level. And that's what their comfort level is. Usually when you get with a woman and you're a progressive male and you're trying to get to the next echelon, you're going to have to usually break up with the female that you were on that echelon with and get with a woman of a higher tax bracket who understands what goes on with the politics in that tax bracket. Women usually aren't going to evolve with you and go into the next tax bracket unknown and not knowing the terrain and how the rules are played, and then also knowing that there's other females that are already there that are going to cause conflict, separation, and they're also going to try to attack you for your mate, your male. And usually women are going to be more divergent towards conflict versus getting involved in conflict. So they're just going to stay on their playing field. Right, so that goes in for the native woman who is cool with her mud hut and she doesn't know how to control a castle, and nor is she going to try to round up the women or round up individuals in the castle to learn how to operate that castle.
Wow.
She's going to stick with what she knows, because where she knows is where she can rule. That would be the mud hut.
You also say here, and this is what makes this material also attractive, which is what also makes movies based on this material attractive, that the Dark Ages was a time when masculinity was celebrated in all its dominant forms. Weak men were looked down upon by all people. If you were weak, it was known, and you were kicked while you were down. If you fell into the position of vagabond or beggar, you will feel consequences either from society treating you like a reject, or the municipality of the city will get rid of you or use you as market entertainment of the day.
Well, I mean, this is natural. This is what you want to call natural law. This is what you want to call survival of the fittest. There's another phrase I'm looking for in my brain that is equal with it, but this is the point. You've been over a friend's house and they got some grandma sitting in the corner with the blanket over her in the wheelchair, and she's watching the TV, right?
Right.
Does your friend introduce you to the grandma? No. You go straight to the garage or go straight upstairs or go right. Because in the natural genetic code of humans, we do not want to be identified with weakness.
Woo. Say it again, brother.
Okay? The natural genetic code, the element of growth, the element of strength cannot identify with or recognize weakness. In early America in the 1940s, black, white, Mexican, if they had a retard, where'd they go? Where did they go? They got sent to the insane asylum. If you had a daughter in the 1940s in America, if you had a daughter who could not uphold her honorable status of chastity and got pregnant, what happened to her? She got sent off to a fucking school, didn't she? She got sent off to some type of school only for females or some insane house somewhere. And because she was an embarrassment, and the weakness that was projected out of both of these classifications was an embarrassment to be attached to in public. To this day, if I'm walking through the grocery store and you got the fucking retard with you in the cart or walking with you, I will look at you and be like, oh, so this is what your DNA produces. We see. Right. You have weak DNA, motherfucker, so you produce weak shit. And it is a natural code amongst all living beings on this planet to not be identified with any form of weakness. Birds will push the deliric egg out of the nest. Okay? Gerbils will eat their young. Gerbils born in captivity will eat their young because being born in captivity is not the strength code of living in the wild. Do we understand this? This is natural law, right? And who tried to get us to break the natural law? The Democrats. They tried to bring in the social propaganda of, oh, be okay with your retard. Here, the government, we will give you money if you have the retard, okay? So you will be weak because we will not identify with you. In the Game of Thrones, remember the little girl had a little rash on her face. What'd they do? They locked her ass up in the basement, nigga. We don't want to be seen with this shit. Am I right or wrong? They did it in the Game of Thrones. Dude, the king that had his daughter had a little rash on her face. She was like, I love you, Papa. You're like, yeah, we're going to lock your ass up. I don't give a fuck about how much love you think you got. Yes.
Because you brought it up before me. I was going to get into that. I was saying, we live in a society today that rewards
backwardness. Yeah. Yes. Weakness. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, let me tell you, like, that's what made also this literature attractive, and that speaks for the energy of it. Heavy, you know. And I just don't understand. And it's crazy because I remember you said something one time, and I was cracking up over it because it was something in reference to medieval literature, you being the author, and how once people see it's you who wrote these books, you're placed in the black space. In saying that, it lets you know that we all have been subjugated to a particular frame of thought that does not allow the black man, black people, Moors, whatever you want to call it, to approach this subject.
Yeah.
And
Or that level of scholasticism, right?
yes, level of scholasticism.
Mm-hmm.
And I like also what you said here. You said, we will see that they take, pillage, and conquer the next male to prove masculinity to the world. Whether this be egotistical or not, it is masculinity. To conquer many women, be it sexually, either psychologically through manipulation or by brute force, is masculinity. This is speaking of course, the medieval times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to throw something at you based on what I just read here. What do you say to someone who asks you, hey, but brothers, this is in the medieval works. You wrote this. Now, let's bring this to today's black man or black culture, particularly in urban environments, the hood, right? Where you have black on black crime and brutality is expressed through violence. And they say, wait. This was the age-old practice of Europeans back then. How would you dare knock that practice conducted amongst black men today in thugism now?
Well, I mean, if we're really going to get technical, Europeans still do it right now. You know, they don't expose to you what they're living or what goes on in their household. You know, you can maybe get a little glimpse of it on how the BDSM thing operates, which BDSM stems from medieval times. And actually, if you really want to get technical, BDSM really stems from the east coast of Africa, the Omo tribe in the Omo Valley area, specifically the Mercy tribe. That's one of them that does it. But there's many other tribes that practices different levels of what we identify or call BDSM today, which stems through France and goes through the rest of Europe into, you know, that's where you find the dungeon adaptation to it and things of that nature. But the thing about it is you can go through 1920 newspapers and you can see where journalists are asking random males on the streets if women should be spanked or women should be whipped or whatever, and everybody says yes to the answer. There used to be whipping posts in America in the major cities, especially in the East Coast areas like Boston and Philly and DC, Chicago and things of that nature over there, you know. And then one thing you also got to remember is that those towns that they call ghost towns or old rundown towns that have small populations were actually the major points, major bustling towns in the 1800s to the 1900s zone. You know, before the Chicagos and the Phillies and the Baltimores started getting the major population lines, they were usually adjusted on these small towns. So what happens here is that there's always been abuse going on, and a man has to express brutality. Not only, you know, that expression of brutality is giving your family the comfort that you are able to secure and also be able to protect them. You see what I'm saying? So if you can't project, you're not supposed to project brutality internally on the family, even though those things do come, because that is the definition of law. Law has to be enforced by violence, unfortunately. You see what I'm saying? So once a certain amount of violence is expressed, you know, your extension of others submitting to your law and force can go longer. You see what I'm saying? And that's where you really have to ask yourself, how much brutality did these Europeans put down on the natives for us to be submissive for 400, 500 years? Shit. You know, it had to be some serious shit going down. You know what I'm saying? But this mentality is definitely shown within the gladiators of Greece, and it's also shown with the way Roman soldiers conducted with their, with their politics and what was going on with the Senate and the Republic, and also what was going on in their individualistic households and how they and what the rules were. The laws that were created for the maintenance of your household and your woman. You see what I'm saying? There was a projection and um, an immediate you will meet death mentality. And we see that in the medieval times as well. And that violence expression is also the maintenance of civilization. Like I saw on a TV show last night, they say the word civilized and the word civilization are two different words. Now, when you understand that, okay, you will respect order. You see, and that's why American civilization today is losing grips on order, is because there hasn't been true expression of violence shown to the public, of a direct situation. We want to show it indirectly through movies and shootouts and movies and shit, instead of showing you directly, look, this was the child molester. We need to put him up here on this guillotine and you will collect the head in the bucket. And then when you see the eyes still twitching on the head, you will have a more graphic and a more direct experience with it. Because just to let you know, the tongue will still flip out, the eyes will still twitch while the head is severed from the body, just to let those know who don't.
Yeah, and it's like that just experiencing that visual trauma is what gets you on code.
Right, it'll get you on code. We need to do that. I do believe capital punishment is due to show to rear its ugly head again, and we need to shut down all television, all apps, and everything else when the criminal meets its fate. Do you understand?
That's heavy. Yeah, that's woo. Yeah, and it's just, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, we're just keep in mind, this is just the intro.
Yeah.
This is the intro.
The brother is detailed. He's read many books. What can I say? You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Now, you say to destroy and rebuild by my order is also to have order is masculine. Okay?
Right.
It's also European women had to be trained, white women had to be trained for eons to not tamper with nor to interfere in her mate's masculinity and how he goes about it as death may be a consequence.
Yeah.
It is the sympathetic social approach of today with its feminine agenda, which demonizes the natural testosterone influenced habits of masculinity. Masculinity is expressed in killing, intelligence, travel, dominance, financial gain and worth, consistency, respect, instruction, honor, and many more elements. These things were the main focus and practices during the Dark Ages. They all evolved out of the depths of rottenness. They still carry on some of these practices today for their cultural maintenance, like hunting.
Right.
Now, I remember I was taken out to hunt as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the effect it had on me and the trauma of seeing an animal killed and skinned and cured and salted. I witnessed all that. It was like, what is this thing here? And I could see, especially at a young age and bringing a child up to experience that, that definitely trains your psychic to acceptance and to see a form of brutality on an animal, okay, to prepare you for what's to come after that. Because we don't experience that we're not raised in that type of environment, I believe causes a handicap.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
We have no respect towards death, therefore we don't have no respect towards life. So like you just said, you saw a live animal go from, Bambi. Let's talk about Bambi. Bambi was chewing on the grass. Pow! Bambi is down. Bambi is hung upside down. It is disemboweled. It is skinned. We will take the skin. We will wrap it on your feet. We will call these moccasins, okay? We will salt the meat. And now we have food for the entire month. And you, who may have had an in-depth relationship with Bambi, now you must eat Bambi in order to survive because you need your protein and you need your vitamin. Do you understand? Do you understand? So all that emotional bullshit goes out the window when it comes to your survival. You understand me? Now, the average schmo today, when we talk about Americans, what percentage of Americans do you think actually see food go from being alive to the status of their plate? 0.002% of Americans actually witness that. I bet you the majority of people who live on farms and raise cattle don't even eat the cattle that they directly kill and all of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very right. You see what I'm saying? Because of the way the system works. So it's a very, very low percentage number, which means everybody has been extracted from their morbidity. You have no understanding of the snap of death. You see what I'm saying? As a child, he witnessed it. The Bambi was eating the flowers, then pow, it's down. What is the last scene the majority of people see before they die? You see what I'm saying? Rage, violence, a big bang and you're done. It's no more. It's all black. You see what I'm saying? So people don't have a respect towards life because I'm telling you, the biggest adjustment that has happened with human history is being extracted from farm living. That's the biggest adjustment. The other big adjustment is probably when the caveman experienced the mirror, or when the mirror was introduced to the caveman, okay? And self-recognition came into play. After that, the major adjustment that we have right now that brought us into this technology zone is the average human being extracted from the farm. And then we lost a lot of intellect with that. We lost courting. We used to watch our animals court when they mated and whatnot. We lost, chickens, horses. There is what you want to call a passion. There is an emotional. There is a that's not the word I'm really looking for. But there is a commune that goes on with male and female, okay? A compassion and whatnot during the course of their courting. And that's with chickens, that's with cows, that's with dogs, that's with cats, that's with pigs. And you will get to see how all of these animals live and how their habits and their specific characters carry out. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Would you say this can be classified in the category of epigenetics?
Well, yeah, we do. Yeah, most definitely. But that would be, that of course in epigenetics, we've developed our own unique, courting practices over time. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of our courting practices have mirrored animal courting practices, and we have incorporated a lot of animal element of their courting into our courting. For instance, the wearing of a tie, or the wearing of an ascot, or having the puffy chest comes from the rooster. And when the rooster sticks out his chest, the rooster sticks out his chest when it's overseeing the females, and he comes around maybe like 4 to 6 times within an hour. And he's like, what you bitches over here talking about over here? You cackling and hackling and shit. The rooster does that. You know what I'm saying? So, or even when you go to purchase your liquor, you always see the deer with the antlers on the liquor bottles, right? That is the buck that stands at the top of the hill, the stag who stands on the stage when he's in when he just got out of his rut season and he's about to go down and mate with all the females. You see what I'm saying?
Anybody out there familiar with Jägermeister?
Yeah, Jägermeister. Right.
Deer, yeah.
Right, or the absinthe. Absinthe is another one, right? Yeah. So yeah.
Well, it's perfect that you said that and we got off into that because the next section is a close look at epigenetics, which is environment and lifestyle factors change how genes are expressed.
Right.
And you put that you thought it would be wise for us to go over how traumatic experiences can be engraved into the person's genetic coding and how it has the probability to play out.
Right.
This is relative to everything from emotions to physical pain and diseases. The list goes on. Everything that goes on in a person's life is downloaded into the body and also plays out in behavior.
Right.
Now, when this is being said, we must remember that the brain does delete unused and invaluable information, but keeps what is valuable and used when it comes to traumatic experiences. These are engraved into your memory like ink to a tattoo. The human body is not designed for hatred and pain. This is the measure that will force the mind to create a behavior to hide the pain it thinks may be visible by the world and or to hide any recollection of the pain from themselves. These type of double, triple thinking processes that are created for security against pain is a disease to the mind within itself. So, in stating that, trauma for the European as we see today has been a major help and driving force for their accomplishments.
Correct. Hands down. Hands down.
But I want you to hold on to that thought, because on the flip side of that coin, Black people constantly being reminded of their trauma here in North America, particularly we're talking about slavery, has been a detriment to us.
Everything's going to be all right.
How so?
So how many times did the slave mothers tell that to her children when they went to go get bought and traded?
Constant.
And then when little Jamal was bought and he got taken into Kentucky, he still got bread and he still got cheese and butter and he still got some rags to wear. So in essence, everything was all right pertaining to that level of thought. And that's why we still operate with that mentality of everything gonna be all right. Because you may lose a family member, you may lose a loved one, or your significant other, you may lose your children, but in essence, you're gonna be all right because you're alive.
Wow. So we can see, in essence, that the constant reminder of our so-called past here in North America under slavery and, is really a ritual reminder. It's something that's purposely done to play over and over. Do you believe that is to halt progress?
No, I don't think. You look at what you just said. We were on the same plantation and similar environments. It didn't matter what state we went to, Kentucky, Arkansas, Louisiana. It was similar rules, and we were at that quote unquote comfort level, and we got comforted within that poverty stricken level for 300, 400 years, supposedly, right? Right. So we're not in a mind frame of developing greater than that. But what's really so crazy is that when you compare that to the conditions of the tribes in Africa, then what are we really looking at now? They basically kept us at the same level the entire time, you know? And if you really want to get technical, I truly believe that your average project housing by square foot is probably the same as the mud hut in Africa on average. If you average the sizes of the homes that they were living in, and you average the number out, it's probably the exact square footage inside your project homes, in whether it's Mossy Projects or Cabrini Greens or Watts in LA.
Okay.
You know, and that's where our brain is limited to. That's where we're comfortable at. So we just stay right there.
Wow. It said you have to state that this soul will understand that the Dark Ages, medieval times, was the third phase of trial and error studies, which concluded to all experiences needed in order to literally take over the world. It can be looked at as taking over the world, and it can also be looked at as unifying a globe of indigence. The source of this unification will be the mutual agreements on technology would come from being defeated. The reliability of convenience and the orgasmic feel of entertainment. Break that down.
Which part? Because that was a lot said right there. Which part?
Meaning, when you said that the concluded experience of this European needed in order to literally take over the world. It can be looked at as taking over the world, and it can also be looked at as unifying globe of indigence. The source of this unification will be the mutual agreements on technology, the reliability of convenience. It sounds like what you're saying here is that in having these experiences as a European, as a unified people, this is why even today they're able to get on code with one another.
Real quick.
Real quick. Even with their petty differences. Is that what you were saying?
Right. And not only that, they will allow the advancement of whatever technology or whatever they're dealing with another Stephen Hawkins or Bill Gates walk through the door. And you don't even have to know the totality of Bill Gates' resume. You just trust your friend Bob, and your friend Bob's like, hey, man, I got a guy. You know, he could do this, he could do that. Bring him in. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, bring him in. You know, he's like, oh, yeah, I could do this. Boom, 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 boom. We're like, okay, how much, I got to pay you or whatever the case. He was like, man, don't worry about it. Just, bring me back in because I'm so in love or infatuated with what I do. I need as many experiences pertaining to this issue to expand my intelligence. You see? And the basis of everything that I said was based off of the love of science. You see? And that's the whole thing. We don't really hold on to an expansion line into a love of science, And that's one reason why I wrote this all the way out, to show you the power within psychology, to show you the power in sociology, to show you the power in social sciences, and to also show you the power within literature pertaining to words. Words affect you completely different after you're done with the Kicked Out of Heaven, especially just right in the weather section, which I hope we can get to. You want to get to the weather section real quick? The weather section, this motherfucker say, oh, there was trouble in the land. That word trouble means completely different now. So when you hear the sheriff say, oh, we got some trouble, or like they say back in the day, they in the slave movies, you ain't starting no trouble, is you? And that word trouble carries thousands and hundreds of thousands of souls within inside the word. And it came from, I saw it its origin within the weather conditions and what the chroniclers were saying about what was going on with the people inside the society during the course of these natural disasters, which we're still facing these natural disasters right now. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely wanted to show the extent of that. Go ahead.
As far as the weather section, definitely. Because I remember I called you on that particular day when we got hit with that storm, and I was letting you know, let me tell you, when it's time to shovel and you're put in a particular position with the weather and you're kind of locked in, definitely it takes on a particular a mental hold, and you see
there's a certain energy that comes over your ass from understanding what the extent of a natural disaster can actually end up being and what you may be facing with the probabilities of the results of this natural disaster, and how to protect yourself and your family and what you may have to do. All of that's all up in the weather section. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I understand about a book, since I've read many, same as you, that first chapter got to grab you. The first chapter got to, and B, I love that weather section because it prepared you for everything throughout the whole 3 volumes. It prepared you for the werewolves. It prepared you for the criminals. It prepared you for the prostitutes. It prepared you for the extent of what they had to go through for survival, which also incorporates a little sympathy on and maturity on how you act towards Europeans. You know what I'm saying? Because weather is something that you're a victim of. You can't control, nor did you initiate it. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, well, I'm gonna stop here. And
you ain't have no questions on the weather section?
Oh no, we're gonna save that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because and I'm gonna tell you why. Because it's thick. The weather section is heavy. The weather section is a book alone that you. Yeah.
No, it's funny you said it like that because I think I put that in the intro that all of these sections throughout the entirety of this book have hundreds and hundreds of books behind it. If I wanted to do a book on natural disasters of old Europe, I could do a lot of research and turn out with a 300 to maybe 400 page book of all the events because, that's just what I could find. And I found it from 1 or 2 sources, so I didn't have to do a lot of digging. But if I did a lot of digging on just natural disasters alone, on what was going on in Normandy, Poland, Kazakhstan, Slavic, whatever, so on and so forth, bro, a lot of stuff will show up. I'm talking about there were sandstorms that wiped out towns. There was, like when we was little kids, and you would always see them in Italy in the boat. And it was supposedly some big old romantic thing. They were in Italy in the boats and shit. We didn't know that used to be a city, but now it got so flooded, and so many different times it got flooded that they could only travel by boat, by these little canoes that they were using. We didn't know that. They presented it to us like it was some big romantic thing to do. You know what I'm saying? It was to be in this, they romanticized it all. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there was a lot of, hailstones the size of pizzas and shit like that. Shit's crazy. Like, we never heard of natural disasters on those levels, but they are well documented throughout history.
Definitely. And because the weather fluctuated constantly, you even have the first half was the Great Warming, the second was the Little Ice Age, and it just
that Little Ice Age thing sort of infuriated me a little bit about our black scholars because they would always talk about, the white man's from the Ice Age, blah, 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 blah. Or you even got Michael Bradley in his book, what is it called? The Ice Age Inheritance, right? Right, the ice, right. So they played with us, and they threw the ice age terminology to the Jurassic epochs and Mesoamerica time periods and all of that. And we didn't hear nothing about no little ice age that occurred from 1300 to 1700. Now, what the fuck is this? Which this gives us a more direct definition on why y'all keep your offices cold as hell, why you keep the jails cold as hell, why you keep convention rooms cold as hell, hotels be cold than a motherfucker. And the reason being is because they're adjusted to that temperature. But even when you go into the folklore, I think Cinderella was during the wintertime. You got Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That was also wintertime. A lot of the folkloric stories that were taught to us as children and what came through Walt Disney, even the recent movie Maleficent was all wintertime shit. You know what I'm saying? So, right. And that's because deep down in the European psyche, they're adapted to, colder temperatures and the winter. Some say that the sun doesn't even directly go over Europe. You know what I'm saying? And I know you've heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the very cold temperature. Movie theaters be cold and all of that, and it is adjusted for Europeans who are acclimated to that temperature space. And what's even really colder is that I said colder, but what's even really colder is when you look at Scorpios, Sagittarius, and Capricorns. They have cold-centered mentalities and very individualistic mentalities for their survival. Look at what happened with Puffy. Puffy's a Scorpio. That is a winter mind frame, and the winter mind frame is enforced to be more individualistic for survival. You know what I'm saying?
And now,
but they will go ahead.
No, all that you said in terms of the weather. Now you're throwing a famine and pestilence on top of it.
Right. Don't do it, brother. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because you see, and what's so cold about all of that is we can see all of this in their movies. Because that's one of the things that pushed me to write this material was, if we were to compare all the imagery from all the different civilizations on this planet, America has the most wildest dismembering and amputation and decapitations on their imagery, which would be film, or maybe even, drawn cartoons and caricatures, more so than any other civilization on this planet. So why do you have such a fucking large admiration and fantasy space for all of this, high level debauchery and slaughtering, and because I don't like horror movies, so that and I knew it had to come from somewhere, so I said, let me go ahead and study these people and see where the fuck this shit is coming from. It's too premeditated, like the movie Saw and shit. But go ahead.
When you said that, when you first said that you didn't like horror movie, I was stunned.
Why you say that?
Because I just couldn't believe it because of how you were able to compile and deal with this energy of the medieval. I said, there's no way.
Well, it's funny you brought that up. Well, let me tell you a little secret a lot of people don't know. Wes Craven, who is the director for all of the Friday the 13th movies and I think some of the Jason Street, his birthday is August 2nd. So there it is.
That's your day.
Yeah, that's my birthday. Me and Wes Craven got the same birthday, right? So we have brains that can, and I think also the designer, I think his name is H.R. Geiger or something for all of the alien stuff. I think he has the same birthday as well. Yeah, I think he has the same birthday as well. And if it's not him, it's another artist. There's this other artist that I found who actually makes art from dead body parts from different humans though, and he'll put them all together and shit. He makes art, and he has the same birthday, August 2nd. So it's something about August 2nd individuals that can handle high level morbidity like that, high level horror.
Wow. Yeah, that's heavy, bro. Now again, that was just That was I'm gonna stop right there. But do you see now what I was saying to you earlier? That's the intro.
Yeah, that's just the intro. I wanted him to go over the weather section real quick, but we gonna have to save that for a whole nother day.
We're gonna save it, yeah, because it's just like I said, they just that beginning. There was so much meat on the bone, and anyone who reads that that introduction, which is not long in terms of pages, it's just what you wrote in the intro gave me a lot of meat to go
Right.
over and hey, this, that, and the third, and how you worded all this, yeah, and what you
Right. Well, I actually had to stop myself while I was writing the intro. I actually had to stop myself because I was getting so detailed into the explanation of what was going on in the material and the juiciness of what you were about to encounter, and I didn't want to be too detailed and because some people, they read 1-2 sentences and think they got the whole thing, and that's not the case. There's a lot of different details and a lot of different stuff that I want you to encounter, and there's a lot of surprises too that I wanted you to get. So I actually had to stop myself with the writing of the intro, and that's where you see me just go through. Okay, this is masculinity. Let these souls speak. Go get to it. Let's see if you can handle this shit. Right.
Yeah, well put together. Well put together, man. But we're gonna continue, and we'll go back and do another one for this.
Right. So we got another one coming, and shit, there's a lot coming because he didn't already. What, you in the 3rd volume right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be done with that. So
okay. Yeah, you can be done with that. He already look at him like he got his award, he got his diploma. Okay. Yeah. Because
I'm almost finished with 3. So yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go through the whole series with me. We go volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3, and see where it's going. So yeah, I guess the weather section will be next time. That was just the intro. Huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna open up with the weather.
Oh, okay. Yeah, next time we'll do the weather. Maybe we'll get to the vagabonds. Maybe we'll get to the criminals. Maybe we'll get to the Franz Schmidt, the executioner. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things. Yeah, I had to do it. Y'all get y'all copies right now. Don't play. This material will skip you over Yale, will skip you over Harvard, or at least have you far more prepared for those institutions. And when you get in those institutions, they're going to look at you and ask you, what school did you go to? Because they already see it adjusted in your aura that you are studious with learning whatever you put your mind to, and that ain't nobody going to be playing no fucking games around here. And then your brain is also chiseled down to the precision that is needed inside of law and also inside of the medical industry, and with those understandings, you're definitely going to be considered, mature and of gentleman status when it comes to the monarchy structure of America and how it's designed. You will be respected as a scholar. You understand? Because nobody knows European culture except for Europeans, and they teach you European culture disseminated inside the universities. You see what I'm saying? So that's just the bottom line to it. So if you want the root to the truth, you go to the kickedoutofheaven.com, and you get this literature right now. And it won't be here forever, especially the color editions. So you better get it while the getting's good is how it's praised. That's
right.
So yeah. Till next time, y'all give it up for Brick Alter here with the interview. We're gonna be doing a lot more, and I won't be here tomorrow, just to let you know, but I will be here on Thursday. So y'all check me out, and we are out of here. Peace.
The evil. The Negro versus evil. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. You wanna come in this rap game, you best to come ferocious. It's ludicrous out here, you best to have 4 eyes to focus. Niggas like to snatch chains, then post it just for notice, hoping to get some change. This the home of the hopeless, the forgotten and strange. Better look out for your homie or he'll be plotting to play. You can have bifocals on and they gon' plot anyway, and then not have shit to say, but then say you are the shit. Fame, fortune, glamour, and glitz. Cameras, light, action, and they document it. Your opinion on politics, go protest the public's bullshit. Don't be like X, someone got their hand up in their pocket. The Negro versus evil. 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 Who shot who? And what would Tupac do if you knew how many dudes in your crew was jealous of you? Them niggas smelling like felons, and they used to jail food. They'll tell your story on the news just to get them some views, and so will that hoe too. Some ham from Instagram, she survives off scams. You know the lames and the lambs, and you thought you was her man while she Snapchatting the plan. Nigga, you are the baller and everybody wants banned. So pour some drink in the glass, she's waving that fat old ass. She got the upper hand, now Bandito's coming to all black band. The coroner stand over, now you understand. No more diamonds on your neck, but there's blood on your hand. And your children left abandoned on the corner they stand, needing money to bury you cause you had no life plan. But on the internet your ghost gained 1 million new fans. It seems like every nigga was born a part of the clan. The Negro versus evil. 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 The Thriller in Manila, battle of the realest niggas. If you can't sell no more records, they'll catch you out with the liquor. Read these lyrics to these idiots, they won't get the picture. And then you'll get a Grammy. Take some photos with some trannies. What have we here? A pap smear with a beard, got MC of the year. We went from gangsters and 40-ounce beers to circles of weirdos and queers. Steer clear of this shit, a slave picnic. Yo bitch will nitpick, you holla on stage. It makes no dollars and cents, but since we on that topic, why is niggas killing everyone and we making profit? Music videos in the alley, no more yachts in the tropic. Stay dangerous, don't stop it. What you trying to kick knowledge? No, I'm trying to get my whip polished and leave you a tip. I'm just observing the game because the world is a trip. But anyway, here's my new mixtape. The shit's hella lit. The name 727 for the G and I keep 2 clips. The Negro versus evil. 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 By any means necessary, that's why I carry. By any means necessary, that's why I carry. Shouts out to X at the window with the gun. Or was it the Tech 9 and KRS-One? When is the best time to make your ops run? Make they so fly. Keep my 45 looking like the FOI. Hollow rounds that sound just like a war cry. should've stayed down, cause now it's crunch time. When I walk away and take everything that's mine, sacrifice your fate when you dropping a dime. The silver tongue devil drinking from the grapevine. The anger on this level can be called the hate crime. Justified before I'm tried, guess that's fine. How a nigga gon' provide and he ain't got spine? These begging ass niggas that ain't got no grind. That's why I drop a stack on the Krishna shrine. I keep one in the chamber and a switch on my 9. Then my victims stand in line. They gotta take a number and better bring a lunch. Full moon, I'm under with a werewolf's hunt. My witches got intuition and riches on the hunch. My family's a dynasty, they all get a cut. We don't believe in luck. The miracles are literal with physical bucks. Tinted windows invisible in that Maybach truck. Can't be seen. 21st century on that gangster lean. Puffing on the finest green. Then I get away clean. They eyes wide shut just like fentanyl fiends. And once they open up, it's the end of your dreams. I'm a solo nigga known for taking whole teams. But I'll tell you one thing. By any means necessary. That's why I carry. By any means necessary. That's why I carry.